I think for me, everyone's different, right? But I've kind of always had the personality, for better or for worse, that if I want something, I make it happen. And I knew I wanted to stay in public health, but not at the experience I was having where I was exhausted. So I was just willing to try almost anything. Now, I will tell you, when I first started working with my coach and she pointed out, like, hey, you're creating a lot of this, not all of it, but a lot of it yourself. I was resistant as heck. I did not like hearing that, right? But the biggest thing that changed, which now I, teach other women, is understanding our brains, right? That was the biggest difference I didn't get from. It's true. Exercise does help with your stress. That is a fact. However, if you don't have time in your schedule to exercise, that advice does not help you, right? It is true therapy can be helpful in the sense of like processing emotions or processing past trauma, big T or little T you've experienced. However, that doesn't necessarily help you change how you face future challenges, right? So the missing piece for me that I realized through coaching and that now I help other people with is understanding the neuroscience of our brain. Why is it we are skipping lunch and not nourishing our body? It's not just because we want to work harder. It's because we have been socialized to believe in order to rest, you have to earn it. We've been taught that through so many messages. So once you understand that, you understand what's happening in your brain is your brain has basically, imagine your brain is like a computer that runs SAS. Your brain has been given all this SAS code that says you can't rest until you get it all done. You can't put yourself first. It's selfish. You have to put yourself last. Now, obviously your brain doesn't say it in those sentences, but just imagine that's what we've been told from the world around us. And your brain is running that code unconsciously. And that's driving a lot of your decisions and a lot of your actions. Learning that, understanding how that works and how to undo that changes everything. It gives you so much more control because you have a lot more control over your brain. Similarly, with understanding how our brains have evolved from an evolutionary point of view. So I see this a lot right now in the context of public health in 2025. A lot of doom scrolling, right? A lot of news addiction. And when we do that, not only does it increase our anxiety and our worry, but we're not getting our work done and we're falling further behind. Now, you could tell someone like, hey, just don't do that. Put your phone on silent, put it in the other room. That often does not work. Why? Because our brains have a negativity bias. We have developed over hundreds of thousands, if not millions of years, where our brain has basically learned the best way to stay alive is to keep a lookout for the things that might kill us, right? That's why your brain wants to keep checking the news. When you understand that, then you can learn how to address that. How do I address that negativity bias in my brain so I don't have that urge to check the news? Right? Those were all the missing pieces that I did not have from just exercising, from talking to HR, from going to therapy. And learning those things gives you so much control and agency because so much of the decisions and actions we are taking are unconscious. It's just our brain operating for us in the way in which the world has told us to, that oftentimes isn't that helpful. It doesn't serve us. So learning how to change that really allows you to be in the driver's seat.
That was amazing. That was amazing. And I guess like going to the next steps of this, what are some tips that you would give people or actionable strategies to get started in dealing with their burnout and maybe even like starting with like assessing themselves? So
Yeah. So there's a couple different things I'll say to get started. And I always like to be very clear. Eliminating burnout and learning the tools and skills to prevent it from coming back does not happen in one podcast episode. Like I work with people for 6 months to do this work, right? So I always like to make that very, very clear. I think in America, especially, we want that like quick fix and just take a pill. That's not the way this works. So here are some places for those of you listening, you can get started. And then I have a resource I can share and I'll send you the link so you can put it in the show notes for folks. One thing I want folks listening to start noticing is how often a day are you saying I have to or I can't? Just notice that. I have to finish this report. I can't go to the gym. I have to keep working. I can't make it to that birthday party, whatever it is, right? That seems so inconsequential, but that's an example of your brain just running that SAS code that it's been taught, saying, I can't prioritize me. I have to overwork. That's essentially what your brain is doing. Now, it's not doing that to be malicious, okay? It's just been taught to do that. So I want you to first notice that. The second thing I want you to do when you notice that is to shift and intentionally remind yourself, I am choosing to, or I am choosing not to, right? Because when you shift that, what you are doing is you're owning your decision-making power. You are owning the fact that you have ability to make a different decision. So even if you say, I'm choosing to work through lunch, I would much rather you say that and still make that choice than say, I have to work through lunch. Because that I have to basically leaves you believing you are powerless. You are not. Changing it to I am choosing to or I'm choosing not to gives you the opportunity to change your choice. So that is one example of how you can start working with your brain to shift your brain's thinking in a way that serves you and gives you more power back. A couple other things I like to know as kind of places to start. For many people, probably many of you listening, you've tried to say no, you've tried to set boundaries because you know that strategy could help you, but you have struggled to do that. What I have found, it's not because you don't know how to do it. It's not because you're not smart enough. What happens is unconsciously, we have some beliefs that it's selfish, that we'll be lazy, that we will drop the ball, right? So we have to address those beliefs. And this takes a little bit of time, but here's where you can start. Your brain wants to focus on how it could be quote unquote harmful or negative to say no or set boundaries. That's that negativity bias we talked about. You want to intentionally shift out of that. So instead, ask yourself, how could it be true that me saying no or me setting boundaries will help other people? And I really want you to answer that. Like, really think about it. How, if you were a leader, how would me not checking emails in the evenings actually help my team? Now, your brain's going to say, well, it won't help your team because what if there's an urgent matter, or what if, some funding gets pulled? You can put that part to the side and come back to how could it help my team? You will be surprised at the answers you'll find, right? Maybe what you'll realize is maybe my team will learn that they can stay off email because I'm modeling it for them. Maybe my team will initiate their own problem solving and become more independent and grow in their ability, right? There's so many different things that you might think of when you ask that question. The last tip I have, it's a little bit more of a tactical tip, but I want to explain why I recommend it. I highly recommend you start scheduling your rest, not only in your calendar, but put it on your calendar first before anything else. Now, what's going to happen is you're going to put on your calendar and then your brain's going to want to move it, right? It's going to say, oh, we don't have time for anything else. Let's delete that. Or it's going to come time to go to yoga or take lunch. Your brain's going to go, no, let's put that off. Okay. This is why I want you to schedule it in, because I actually want you to see in real time how your brain is creating reasons to not follow through on the rest. And they feel real, right? They feel like facts. They aren't. You have a choice to follow through or not. So this tip is both kind of a tactical thing, but it's really more about seeing the ways in which your brain is denying you rest. And then once you see that, you can really work on shifting your brain's thinking around rest and the importance of rest and prioritizing rest and what that looks like. But first, you have to just realize where your brain is stopping you from getting rest in the first place. So that's where I would start for folks. The other thing, once you do that, we are currently, and I think at the time this podcast will air, offering a totally free, publicly available video series called From Panic to Purpose. It's 10 parts. We release new videos every single Friday, and it goes a lot deeper than what we've talked about here. We have whole videos on understanding the neuroscience of your brain, how it creates anxiety, how it creates panic, and what to do about it, how to regain control, how to navigate the politics of public health, how to reduce your negative thinking and your negative thought spirals, how to feel better, right? Everything we've talked about today, we dive a lot deeper in that series. Anyone's welcome to sign up and join. And when you sign up, you'll get access to all the existing videos that are available and emails with any new ones that are released. So that's where I'd start. And I would join the From Panic to Purpose series to dive deeper and continue learning.
Well, check out that link below for that Panic to Purpose series to definitely learn more and gain some skills that are going to be essential not only now but for the entire rest of your career. But really appreciate you sharing those tips. I think I was like nodding along saying, oh yeah, I've definitely done that before, or like how can I like reframe and shift things, because the I can't or I have to, that powerlessness really does run rampant in a lot of like societal conversations and narratives. And I think it's so important that we are able to shift that and have conversations on that. And definitely love the tactic of just putting things in your calendar. I think too often we think calendars are for just work stuff, but we don't put time for play. We don't put time for rest. We don't put time to focus on social health, spiritual health, all the things. So I think like taking that step, and like I've also been very, very like when you say it, you put it in your calendar, and then in your brain you're making up a reason to say, oh, I can't do this today, or I can't do that today. And like, yeah, those things are real, not just for you, but for myself as well. So I appreciate you sharing that, and maybe I'll have to join that series as well.